"What is that you're wearing, Clementina?" Mike asked his sister. Clementina was 12 years old, in her 7th grade, and like her fellow kids, Clementina didn't develop her body parts too quickly like they were because they started their menstrual cycle way before she did. She never had any such big melons, no such big hips, no such big butt, no such big thighs. However, her almost heading into her teen years, Clementina's melons had started developing, and they were showing that they were developing. The size of a dot or a grape, you might call it. Clementina and her siblings were off of school that day, and it so happened that that very day, her brother was doing his laundry. Her brother, Mike, was doing his laundry in the bathroom, and Clementina happened to pass by the bathroom. "Come here, Clementina, I need your assistance with something," Mike said. "What assistance do you require of me, Mike?" Clementina asked. Mike looking at Clementina with a very stern look she had never ever seen in her life, like a vampire trying to devour its prey. Clementina was so surprised by this look on Mike's face as she had never seen him in this state. "What is that you're wearing, Clementina?" Mike asked. "I am wearing a breast holder," Clementina responded. In spite of Clementina and her sisters not developing their body parts as quickly as other kids would, Clementina's mother had bought them breast holders as she had noticed that her kids were now heading into their teenage years. Clementina's breast holder was cream white, and in spite of her melons not being as big as you would imagine, you would still notice that there was something sticking out of that blouse or of that shirt or of that breast holder. Mike said to move closer and closer to Clementina's body, like a vampire that is about to suck the last drop out of this human. Mike moved closer and caressed Clementina's small melons. In confusion and not being familiar with what was happening or not identifying what was going on, Clementina was so confused, but she couldn't help with the touch she felt on her body, and she started breathing heavily and heavily and heavily. Being an awkward and confusing situation, Clementina fled the scene and she walked away hurriedly. She sat quietly on her own, trying to process what had just happened. Was she dreaming? Was she hallucinating? What was her next step? Why did her brother do that? After thinking so deeply, this didn't really come as a shock to Clementina, as Mike was her stepbrother and every other sibling that she had were her step-siblings, and she was an only child. Once upon a time when Clementina was 10, Mike uttered the words, "I like her," and Clementina had to go back in time, and she came back to the present, and she thought to herself, did he mean those words? Is that the reason why he acted the way he did today? Clementina was in the TV room with the rest of her siblings, and her siblings not knowing what had just happened. In spite of Clementina being in a crowd, she was all alone in her thoughts, thinking, is this how things are usually done? What just happened? What is going on? Am I dreaming? Whilst lost in her deep thoughts, Clementina heard someone whisper her name, Clementina, and whistling for her. And when she looked back, it was Mike. He was signaling her to go where he was. Clementina. She walked over to where Mike was in her bedroom, and Mike shut the door. He put her closer to his chest, breathing so heavily, like a vampire ready to pounce on its prey. And he gave her the same stern look she had never ever saw until that day. He put her closer and he kissed her. So warm a kiss, so intense, with so much affection. "My brother kissed me, and it was my first kiss," said Clementina.